There we go. I am hooked in to the Matrix. Yeah, let me also start up some music, which is just an ad. Come on. Can't believe it. Hopefully there's not too many ads, because that would be a little bit annoying. Just doing some sound mixing here. Okay. And let me do this. And yes, so we are live. It's gonna be, you can see the microphone right there. Wow. It's gonna be probably a short stream, but no more than an hour. Because for one, it's just an update video, which is, well, update stream, which is kind of what the video was as well. Which I'll talk about in a second. And also, I am feeling a little bit under the weather, so yeah, I'm definitely not gonna do it for long. So yes, let us then kind of discuss the video. So I published this video. Where is it? It's let me switch to this video right here. And yeah, so you can see I have just making sure that everything is working good. Yeah, I released this video here. It had actually been 9 months, around 9 months since I'd released a video prior, which I am sorry about, which is kind of what I talked about in the video. But yeah, I've just been pretty busy and have been trying to get a lot of stuff done. But yeah, sorry, I gotta. It's lower than the recommended. Oh, I don't know what that means. It looks good on my side. Yeah, it looks good on my side. I don't know what it's talking about. But yeah, so essentially getting into it, I released a video that is just essentially, you know, hey look, I made this game from a game jam. I've done this before. I did it for this video right here, which is actually the video that inspired me to do, this video and this video kind of inspired me to do the triple devlog video that I did, because I realized that a lot of the times I was just recording stuff and then that was it. I would just kind of edit some things out, whatever, and then just make the full thing. But actually, whenever I was making this one, which this is a really good video, I think you should watch it, I put a lot of editing and stuff into that, and I think it was, which one was my first one that I actually kind of edited? I think it was, right, it was, I think this one that I actually, wait, where would it be? No, I didn't edit those. I think it was this one that I actually used a proper editing software to be able to have a good how to play trailer for Conquer the Tree. Speaking of Conquer the Tree, I'm sure you've probably seen that where, well, I've posted about it. Conquer the Tree unfortunately left airconsole.com due to, I don't know, conflicts with how, sorry, I just see a virus trending in the United States. I mean, open it up for later as I'm sick. I don't think it's COVID because the people that I was with tested before whenever they were sick. Well, not that many people were sick. I wasn't even around them, but there's just kind of a general sickness going around. But yeah, it had been pulled because of just conflict of interest, and it's essentially airconsole.com is no longer a free publishing service. It's now a selective publishing service, which is a bit unfortunate, but just how it goes. I do have some plans for Conquer the Tree that hopefully I'll be able to enact and work through in this year, hopefully, or essentially before I graduate. I'm hoping to republish Conquer the Tree on another platform because Air Console was its republishing. So yeah, I definitely wanted to put a new video besides just this one being my latest, which was like, hey, play Conquer the Tree, and then you can't even play it. You could only play it for 9 months. But unfortunate, but yes. Lots of plans, like I said, probably in this video. And yeah, you know what? Let's just go through it. I have a decent amount to say about the video, but I think I will hold that off until afterwards. After I've finished watching it, just to kind of get into the flow of speaking. Because I had some things to say, but I just wasn't. I can't make thoughts right now. But yeah, so let's watch this video. Hello and welcome to my kind of. Okay, how loud is that? It's about the same volume as me, which is, I guess, good. Um, so yeah, you can see I did a little VFX intro. I like doing kind of like an intro thing for, I mean, I guess there's a plan with season 2, and I've only made 2 videos with season 2. I'll discuss the logistics behind all that afterwards. But right now we're just focusing on this video, and yeah, I just kind of like doing a little intro thing, like that, and you can see that there's a little poster here that says video games suck. And if you look now, actually let me switch over to this one. You can see I actually got my new posters that I said I would get. I got the Studio Ghibli Kiki's Delivery Service one right there. I have another one from Studio Ghibli, Princess Mononoke, right up there. I have 2 more, which I don't have a spot for, but I may in the new apartment next year, new apartment space. And then I also have Where's My Water 2. Unfortunately, you can't really see it, but you know, it's there. It looks pretty good. It's pretty funny. It's Where's My Water 2, the movie, which was voted upon whenever I did a stream before about like, hey, what thing should I have on my wall? But yeah, whenever I was recording this, those posters were not there. So, which was in January, and so I think the posters are now up there, end of January. And you can kind of see that like this released in like March. Actually, I could see right here. Yeah, March. It took a little while to edit. Not because the editing took a while. Well, kind of that, but mainly because of just how long it takes to edit videos. Specifically videos like this. Anyways, let's continue watching. Of engineering, game development, and just doing general projects. It's been a while since I announced season 2 and the plans that I have for it. But of course, you know, was that lower? No, I'm not necessarily doing YouTube. I'm still doing game development. And I thought you guys would be interested in exactly kind of what I did during the past year in terms of game development. Now, I'll be talking about one game jam that I did in particular. If you don't know what a game jam is, it's essentially a game that you make as a part of a competition. This time it was within 48 hours and it was very exciting. So let's get into that. Let's get into that, why don't we? The intro there. I recorded that intro. I think it's the first thing I recorded. I always record the intro first, although just to kind of get an idea of where the recording session's kind of gonna go from there. But then after I do it all and I'm in the editing booth, I just kind of think I don't really know. I mean, it was the same feeling that I felt with these 2 videos, and why I kind of changed up the formatting to have a lot more editing, a lot more kind of flow to the videos. I guess actually these 2 were more about spending more time on this, because like this video, I did it because I was like, oh, you know, I want to really talk about this thing. It's just kind of a thing to talk about, and I don't know, I've never, I mean, I've showcased some things, but I like having a video that has kind of a purpose instead of just kind of talking about something. Because as you can see, actually, in the comments here, it's another attempt at a devlog. In the moment of recording, I like spewing every single detail, but in editing, I try and shorten it down and make it entertaining. Eventually I'll find the right balance. Hopefully I will. Every time I make a video like this, I kind of make mental notes and hope to change it in some way to make it sort of a good flow for myself, and then also hopefully a good experience for you guys. But yeah, I was working on this all January and then editing all February, which is a lot for just kind of like a progress video, which is, I don't know, kind of unfortunate, because I wanted to, I have some other ideas for videos which I think we're only slightly delayed. I don't think they're fully delayed. So it should still be able to get them out, and they should be pretty exciting. Which I think, you know, I again talk about at the ending. But yeah, well, you can see the editing that I did here to get that out. but yeah, well, one of the things that, like, you know, I kind of the problems that I have with doing this kind of stuff is I notice while recording, I'm very much very analytical in my approach to things. I'm like, okay, I did this, I did that, and then just kind of spewing facts. And then after the fact, whenever I'm editing, I'm like, okay, how do I make this a good watching experience? Oh, it needs to be really really entertaining and stuff like that. Because before it was like a 30-40 minute video that I had, like it's 18 minutes now, but it was much longer. I'm like, it's just, I don't know, just kind of saying facts. Like, I mean, it may be just because I already know these facts. I'm like, okay, just hearing the same facts again, and maybe it's interesting for other people, but for me, I just kind of like, let me, you know, get some music playing while I say this, so it doesn't feel like I'm just spewing facts again. Um, but yeah, it's just kind of doing this style of thing. I'm just not necessarily used to, and I think I was kind of thinking about it before, looking at a lot of other devlog videos. Specifically, I kind of think the example of it would be Danny, which I could probably search up, pull up right here, Danny, which he hasn't published in a while. Oh wow, this is his last one. But yeah, like, well, these ones are very much just energetic and things like that, and he doesn't really talk about the code. I think actually I noticed it the first time I noticed this, because I wasn't watching that many programming or game development YouTubers at the time, because there wasn't that many. There were some, but like Michael Reeves' video. I think specifically, yeah, I think maybe this one, or like there's one of them that he's like, oh yeah, there's a whole bunch of code. I think actually his latest one that has that would be the surgery robot, where he's like, oh, you don't want to talk about the code and stuff like that. And it's like, well, I'd be interested in it, but it doesn't actually flow with the entertainment style of the video. So I mean, he probably kind of thinks the same thing. It's like, oh, wants to explain it all, and then goes through it, and then eventually recreates the things and stuff like that. But it's, I don't know, it's just kind of a weird thing to kind of go back and forth about. Now I could probably form a lot of my content around just like, hey, factual stuff and things like that, but that's just not necessarily how I like to make videos. I really like to make videos that are entertaining, so it is still a conflict, and not like, oh, just make more informative type videos, because I do like doing these kind of things. But yeah, so you can see I was doing all this actually in editing. I was actually just gonna remove the part that I was saying like, oh, I'm busy with this and this. I'm like, it's not really the style I'm looking for. I don't want to be like, oh, I'm so busy, I just, I'm doing all this and things like that, and my ad blocker to stop working on YouTube. It's very unfortunate. And I don't know, it just didn't fit with the flow of it, because like I said, while editing, I realized that there was a lot of parts where it's like, maybe I could have shaped this differently. And specifically, we'll get there, but it's like, there's just a lot of stuff that is just back and forth. And sorry I'm not able to properly articulate a lot of these things. It's just, haven't spoken in a while. And I am slightly sick, as I said before. And like I said, keep in mind, this is not meant to be an entertaining video. It's more meant to be factual, which I guess is more for myself, because like I said, I go back and forth in that. But I like to think I'm, oh, that's not me. I like to think I'm getting better with the way that I'm making content, and consciously thinking about those things, and really adapting it to what I think. I mean, I really liked this video. I would say actually a great example of me kind of changing it up and figuring out what I enjoy doing. I really like this video. I would say that video would be my best one for a devlog, even though it is a triple devlog and it's an hour long. I was programming it a lot, and you can actually, for the third one, I was, actually swinging around and stuff, and you can barely hear me because my computer is pretty loud, and I didn't have this wonderful microphone that cancels out the audio. But you can hear how like disappointed I am in the project at this point in time, because I think I may have been editing a little bit of it up to this point, or doing some other stuff. But at this point in time, I was kind of disappointed in the video. Well, actually, you can see I was editing it at the same time that I was recording this segment. Yeah, I kind of sounded like down and stuff like that, but then after I'd finally finished editing the full thing and then I watched the full thing, I actually really enjoyed the video, which I was surprised about. And it wasn't until this part where I'm talking down about it that I'm like, well, that doesn't really fit in the video for me talking down about this video, because I actually really enjoyed how that works. So I think I'm definitely gonna look more back into this one and kind of the format that I did with that, as well as you know, kind of some of the other stuff that I'd want to experiment with, because you know that's an hour long, and I don't want to make an hour long video, because one, that takes a lot of editing time, and two, not good for clicking. But yeah, anyways, let's continue on. I've dilly-dallied enough. Hey, it's me at the board. So,
Me at the board.
what game jam exactly did I compete in this time? Well, it's the Texas Game Jam in 2023. Now, if you've seen before, I've actually done the Texas Game Jam 2021, which I showcased in this video here. Now, we used Unity that time, and so then the next year, I kind of may have been a little bit too ambitious and thought, you know what? I've been learning Unreal, and I think we can make a 3D game in 48 hours. Yeah, that game didn't didn't well, okay, sort of turned out well, but not really. Sort of did. That's what I just said. So you can see I had like a little intro sequence where I think you get a slight clip of it. You're essentially trying to date. You can see the word date. Date your therapist. Actually, you can't. You can see a little bit of the name. It's like, oh, who asks someone out? Actually, that's a really weird concept for your therapist to ask you out. I don't know what we were thinking. There was like, while we were doing that one, let me just talk a little bit about this game jam. It was so big and ambitious, and we had a big team, because it was supposed to be, you know, a big game because it's 3D Unreal and stuff like that, and you need a lot of hands on deck for it. And we had a few 3D artists and stuff like that. We actually didn't get in this character until the last hour. They extended it by an hour for you to be able to submit it. And so I was like, okay, I'll just rig it up and throw it in, which I was luckily able to do. I think before it was just the default character that Unreal comes with. Yeah, I mean, what happened is a lot of them, I think, were too afraid of the huge task the game was, that they didn't necessarily work on it too much, and instead worked a lot more on the details of the game and just the concepts. To where then it was just literally me and like a couple other people, which were the kind of programmers, just making the whole game. And it's like, you can't just keep on putting in ideas, and then we didn't actually get that much.
The
So
Texas
you can
Game
see,
Jam right now.
you go through the thing. You have this whole kind of parkour section, which is really hard to control. The best thing that I did here actually was the camera system. I don't know if you'll see it. You actually won't, but it was I essentially had a whole bunch of triggers that, like, oh, at this point the camera will lock into the player, or at this point it'll zoom out. We're of course inspired by Little Nightmares, that game, Little Nightmares, or essentially just a 2D well, not 2D, it's a, I guess, is it called 2.5D scroller? Essentially this little character going around and interacting with the environment and doing stuff like that. Why is there no gameplay footage? It's just all trailers. You can see you can move back and forth a little bit, and the camera kind of locks into different rooms and things like that. So I really wanted to work on that kind of mechanic.
Right now,
unfortunately, that meant I wasn't able to kind of work on anything else. There's actually one person who was working on Unreal, didn't program anything, but made these levels, which I'm so grateful for, because they, I mean, as you can see, they look good, but we of course weren't able to work on it. I think I worked on the jumping and stuff like that. And I know I said that I was comfortable with Unreal. I use purely graph nodes, which actually, speaking about being uncomfortable with Unreal, last semester I took a course on the kind of game development or game programming paradigms which used Unreal. So I have actually gotten a lot more familiar with Unreal and kind of what a studio would do with Unreal in terms of like you know, how the working parts work and stuff like that. So it was a really informative class, and I think I should be able to use more of the C++. Because I don't remember, is this, I think this was after this one. But the thing is, with this video that I did, the triple devlog, I was using Unreal, but I was only making starting portions of games in Unreal. I wasn't making a full game. And so then making a full game under time limit, 48 hours, was a lot more difficult than expected. And yeah, so you can kind of see some stuff there that's like your therapist, and they're like, oh, you know, well, you got this, you can get through this, I believe in you. And then the kind of boss fight where just other player characters spawn and they're just shadow characters, and then that was kind of it. So, you know, kind of interesting. But yeah, I'm glad I got a lot more comfortable with that, and I realized that, like, I mean, I guess I could have, because you can see I plan to, like, maybe do more recording in the field, which I have thought about. Actually, I think I had a strategy that I wrote down. Let me see if I can find that strategy of, like, of what to do if I were to do a sort of game development or devlog format. Yeah, I actually kind of wrote down some ideas based off of kind of what I thought from this one. Record during breaks, so spew whatever nonsense, it'll be fine. I can edit down like I like I did for all this stuff that I talked about in this video. So essentially, like, you know, it is 48 hours, but you can see it's broken up into parts. The first few hours, Saturday the jam, and then the final 24 hours. In between that, I of course go home, or actually the first one I stayed up overnight, but I'd still probably be able to just kind of say whatever. I think the thing I was thinking about before is, like, I don't really want to record while I'm at the game jam, or even just making games in general. I just don't like that. I like focusing on the game and not focusing on the game and also making a video, which is my problem with making, I would say probably my biggest problem with making devlog content is that I just don't like recording while I'm making a game. I like just kind of being in the zone. But yeah, I think definitely the idea of just recording during the breaks, just kind of my thought process, and then being able to just add stuff on top of that or whatever, I think would make it a little bit more entertaining, as well as don't worry about not filling the time. This is a future point that I'll bring up based off of a future point in this video. Put the footage over the talking and occasionally do voiceovers. So it'd be the parts that I kind of ramble about at night after I finished making the game for a whole day, and then if I miss anything, do voiceovers. Because I've been thinking, actually, for this very video, I was making it, and like 75% away through editing, I'm like, maybe this would be better if it was voiceover. Like, if I just went through and, like, you can see, like, I have my little camera in the top right, and I would just, I don't know, voice over it, and I'd even voice over the intro and be like, hey, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about, here's what I did. But I don't know, it just didn't feel right, because I'd already, you know, pretty much like 75% of the editing. Like I said, I'd have to re-record stuff, re-edit stuff, which is also a thing that I think about, of like it's every time in editing, I have a different idea of how things could have or should have gone, but I just don't want to spend extra time re-recording and re-editing this stuff. Well, I can re-edit it, but like re-recording this stuff, because it's already taken like 2 months to make this, and I have bigger and better ideas that I'm kind of really wanting to do. So probably for those I would re-record, but for this one, I was like, okay, I just gotta get this out. But I will try and keep in mind that for ones that are bigger projects, that it's okay to re-record, because I'd really want to make it a good video. But this turned out to be much more of an update video than, I guess, I mean, I kind of wanted it to be an update video to begin with, and then over time, I was like, an update video, I don't know, I just, every time I really go into update videos, you can see it's like, this is an update video. There's like, I used to do update videos all the time, and I kind of stopped doing that. I think this one, or no, yeah, it was actually this one. This one where I recorded for 43 minutes. I was like, maybe that was too long, and you know, not many people watch it, and I don't know, just spending so much time on these types of videos and not being able to spend time on like bigger project videos just kind of feels weird. I'm still, you know, experimenting, doing this, doing that, and figuring out what I'm doing. But yeah, I definitely like to experiment more with voiceovers. I was actually thinking about, since I wouldn't want to just cut this video and just put the voiceover on top, I was thinking, what if I did a separate video on top of this? I was like, oh, it's like, in this video, I'm going to figure out if voiceovers would be better. And then I would just kind of do like a voiceover cut of this. But it ran into the same problem of like you can see my mouth moving, and a lot of times actually you can see this other that's not hold on, yeah, Jabril's this creator does voiceovers, but they also have their face. So how do they do that? Well, you can see,
Yo, I went from uploading 18
okay, well that's not
biggest issues I was running.
oh, he's actually talking. Hold on, I haven't I gotta admit I haven't seen Jabril in a long time. But specifically in his earlier content.
Yo guys, before we get into this week's software, I want to share a quick story with you.
Just kind of
So
sits there,
the other
and then
day,
it's
I
kind
was
of a
relaxing.
voiceover. And I realized why that is because if you're voiceovering like content like this, especially with like I can't remove the face cam in the corner, it just kind of really desyncs the video, I think, and so I also scrapped that idea. But you know, I think this is still good, and I think it was still quite interesting to do. But yeah, I don't remember if I was gonna say anything else. Oh yeah, I was going through this thing. And then also, you know, my other thing that I put into my little notes was to do more. Okay, just wait. I need to check that. Because that'd be unfortunate. That's an actual thing. I'll do something later. Anyways, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah. Also riffing off of this is I put you can do TV segments for unrelated bits. So like in here, I made it very much like kind of a TV show, and I was thinking for some parts of it, this is again going off of another thing that I didn't hear, just kind of doing like, okay, and you know, I'm gonna talk about this, but let's go over to like it now. It's talk about this section or whatever, and not make it seem as much as rambling and more like different segments that I'm talking about, you know. And so that was kind of the idea with putting that down. But anyways, let's continue watching the video.
I got a team of 7.
Yeah, that was team of 7 experience there. But going into the Texas Game Jam 2023, we kind of thought it'd be interesting to mix it up, and instead of doing Unity or Unreal, we decided to instead learn a whole new game engine, Godot. Now I had dun dun dun. I actually cut it apart as well, you know, trying to cut down on the amount of info that I said during recording. Yeah, part of the reason as well was because of the Unity changes that they did. They just announced it like a week or less than a week before this actual game jam happened. So it's like, you know, it kind of fits that we would do another game engine because we did Unity Unreal, and it's like we were gonna go back to Unity, but then that thing happens. Like, well, you know what? Let's try Godot. I'd never tried Godot, which, you know, I said before, but or I say in the video, but you know, it fit, and with everything that was happening, and I'm glad I did it because Godot is actually pretty cool. Yeah. I hadn't actually used Godot at all before that point, but I figured, how hard can it be? I literally forced the programmer last year to learn Unreal, so it was kind of payback for me to learn Godot. But of course, that programmer I just kind of threw into the deep end for that. But then that brings the question: what will I do for the 4th year? I guess I would have to hopefully you know, I'll experiment with the last game jam, this Texas game jam type video, and hopefully have a new way of showcasing it, but well, using some of the techniques that I just described. Um, but what game engine would we be using? Because if we're gonna stick to like, oh, different game engine every time, what would be the fourth one? Um, so that'll be quite interesting. I mean, I guess I can give a, sort of a hint there, but the other program that I work with for every game jam, he has been working on his own game engine, so we may be doing that. I told him it's like I could do it as long as it has a higher level programming language. It's not like lower level. It's like you have to worry about reference pointers and stuff like that. It's like, please allow me to just easily like cube go up and then have that work, because I won't be able to do like the bare bones like, okay, this point of reference in memory, move this up, move that right. So it'll be quite interesting because the game engine won't be suited for necessarily types of just kind of making games. I think right now it's just kind of a I think he's just testing the graphics. I think he's making it in Vulkan, which is pretty low level, and it's just kind of terrain. So it may be, I guess it would probably be 3D. So we'll go back to 3D again for the fourth year. So look forward to that. I hope the video format will be quite interesting. I'll be taking a lot more notes before recording, which is something that I'm taking into account, because another thing that I actually showed, I guess I'll kind of go into this, is what if I started pre-vising my videos? I think that could be very interesting in terms of actually planning out beforehand, because I mean, with any like animated stuff or things like that, you have you have storyboards of like, okay, this will happen and this will happen. This is, you know, a sneak peek storyboard of the next video that I'll be working on, although there may be a video in between, and it's kind of Inception. But yeah, I think definitely taking the time and thinking of the total flow of it, and not just like, you know, oh, what would be interesting in this video? Okay, I'll add this and I'll add that and I'll add that. And then it's like, oh, that's too much stuff or too much info or whatever. And I think that was kind of the problem that I ran into here. Anyways, we haven't even got past the intro. Let's just get past the intro. The theme for this game jam, because every game jam has to come with a theme. Has to have a theme. We're all sitting there waiting for the theme to be announced, and it's a trap. It's a trap. In order to see what we did with that news, I will play that footage now. That's how YouTube works. That is how YouTube works. So to start off, what did we do? Well, so if you can tell, I also have been, I really wanted to get into more of the music and sound, I guess just general sounds in YouTube videos, or just editing, so you can hear like the boom boom as it goes along. I've been trying to learn a little bit of FL Studio for both game development and for, you know, things like this, and also I think, yeah, what I did for this one, the triple devlog, is I made a song for each segment that just kind of looped. So if you imagine an hour of 3 just looping soundtracks, that, you know, I have no expertise in actually making music, is a bit grating. So I've actually started a playlist of yeah, I made a playlist of music to add into games, or add into YouTube videos. Sorry, I just got distracted. And so as you can tell in here, I actually kind of, you know, you can see the credits for the music that I used in this video. But I just have a YouTube playlist that I can just kind of grab from, and like, you know what, maybe that would make sense for that part. So yeah, and I hope you enjoy at least the sounds and music that I put into this video, because I think they turned out pretty well. Of course, we did the planning stage. I remember someone mentioned that they liked Rain World as one of their favorite games, so it's like, yep, well, what if we make a Rain World type game? The music that's happening now in this is a Rain World music thing. Suggesting like Rain World style boss fighting, local multiplayer. I always, let me tell you right now, I love just doing kind of enemy AI type stuff. So the Rain World style boss fighting, I was really hyped for. And yeah, I don't think I've showed it off, but I think I will in a YouTube short. I need to work on some YouTube shorts probably over the summer, or at some point. I only have one YouTube short, and then I don't know. YouTube shorts actually work out pretty well, for advertising. I need to get onto that, but yeah, the Ruin World style boss fighting I thought was gonna be a good idea. Something that I actually cut in this explanation, because you know I'm cutting on time to make it quicker. Keep on saying that. Anyways, one of the ideas was to actually make the rat like physics based, as you can see in Rain World, so the whole thing kind of flops around and things like that. And, you know, I thought that'd be pretty cool and easy to program because it just have joints and kind of, I guess, springy joints, and also tying in the animations to that. It would have been a little bit complex, but I think we would have had time. But I was working on a different thing, and I think the programming could have been probably better spent if I did have extra programming time on like something else. Like I do actually mention at the end, one of the things that I skipped out on that I should have definitely done. Anyways, the planning stage is actually the most important, and I think I mainly say this because, I mean, a lot of times there's, you're kind of in the middle of it and you're like, why is this actually a good game idea and stuff like that? But you kind of just push through and it's like, you know, it's pretty decent, it's pretty good. But for one game jam that I did with my robotics team, we kind of got on a Discord call and we talked for maybe like an hour, and it's like, I think that's a good idea. And I think at the time I wasn't actually suggesting ideas because I don't know, I just couldn't think of any ideas at that point. But someone else suggested ideas like, yeah, I think that'd be good. And then like the next day we were kind of putting up some stuff. It was like, I don't think this is actually a good game idea. And then everyone lost motivation, and then I was the only one working on it, and it didn't actually do anything. So the planning stage is actually the most important, but it is actually also the hardest because it's hard to think of an idea. Which is why the theme of a game jam is also very important, because you want a theme that will inspire creativity and not be too broad to kind of fall down that pit hole, which was exactly what happened. Is that the specific game jam that I'm talking about that I did with my robotics team, the theme was cooperation, like cooperating and competition at the same time, which is a weird aspect to think about in game development. I mean, Space Fighters is technically cooperation, the game that I made before, but as a theme, it's kind of a weird kind of thing you have to kind of go between to think of ideas. So yeah, that was what I wanted to say about that. Let's continue. PvP Ratatouille cooking game. Those are some of the ideas, and we all of course ranked them. And eventually, I mean, a lot of people just put kind of local multiplayer PvP as one of their top. I was also, by the way, at theater rehearsal at this time. I wasn't actually able to do the full planning stage with them, but I kind of joined on and typed in my little input. Preferences that they wanted. But this helped, so even if we weren't able to communicate. This really helped for us planning something, because it's like, oh look, everyone did local multiplayer PvP, and we kind of just we had some lore ideas. Kind of lore ideas here, which is quite fun. Why are they fighting each other? Stuff like this, and I mean, doing this, of course, really helps in a game. I should mention, my friend, Pixel Universe over here, I think streamed Rain World. So if you actually want to see Rain World, you can watch my friend Pixel Universe's stream on it. He's gotten back into streaming, and also speedrunning, which was, you know, something that's hinted about sort of in a way at the end. Because you always need to kind of take the time and really focus on what you want to make, instead of just making and then realizing you'll have to completely pivot later. So yeah, that was... Yeah, I think, I don't know if I said more, but I think I was just going to cut that out entirely because of too much info. But I was like, you know what? This is a little bit informative. I wanted, I wanted to be at least a little bit informative, even if it is a lot of talking, and so I kept that in. What we did, and then we opened up Godot. I'm actually going to open up a new project here, just to kind of show you kind of the ins and outs of kind of Godot here. I can't even speak. Or did I say GIMP or Godot? I think I thought that because I hesitated saying Godot, and maybe I was gonna like accidentally say GIMP. I don't know. Godot's a hard thing to say. What can I say? Alright, and so then this is Godot. I haven't actually opened it in a while. Let me just go into 2D, and what I'm going to do to prove how good Godot is, and to prove that I actually learned stuff from Godot, I'm going to make a player. First of all, I'm going to need to... So yeah, this is the part that I was talking about in terms of don't worry about not filling the time. You can do TV segments for unrelated bits. I think... okay, well actually that's a little bit later, kind of what I was thinking about that, but don't worry about not filling the time. I was thinking while making it, it's like, oh, it would be kind of interesting. It's like, oh, you know what, I'm gonna show Godot is so good and I'm just gonna easily create a player. It was actually a little bit harder than I expected, for some reason. I don't know why I didn't, because a lot of it, I mean, a lot of the trouble that I had was just kind of how the flow of Godot works. Because I forgot, like, oh yeah, this is actually just a rigid body, and I'm inheriting from that, and those things. So it doesn't actually. So if I did actually have learned Godot, like the flow of it, then it would have been a lot easier. But I guess that was kind of the point of doing this segment. Anyways, the whole point was just like, oh, I'll do like a quick little segment of like making the player, and then yeah, so I was actually talking during the whole, I think, 22 minutes that took me to do this, and I'm also, by the way, saying all this like you've watched the video. So if you haven't watched the video, go watch it, because it's, I mean, even though I am ranting about this or that, I am, you know, my biggest critic, and so then it's still a good video in general, and I think it's a good update video, because I did a lot of work on the editing to make it like that. But yeah, so for I guess I could have linked the video in the description. Yeah, it doesn't matter. But yeah, so with this, I was just thinking like, oh, I want to kind of like it. I think I was just thinking it's like, oh, it would be interesting to add in, like I was talking about before, would be interesting to add in, oh, this thing, like, kind of like, oh, let's see if I can do it under a time limit, or things like that. And not thinking about like, oh, how would that actually flow within the whole game, or within the whole video, because it doesn't really. And maybe I could have formatted it better to be a different thing, like maybe making a TV segment, or something like that, but yeah, it's just the flow, and thinking like, oh, with this, the previous thing, I already kind of mentioned it all, so I'll just let it play. I guess create a child node. But yeah, this part of the video I've kind of always been like unsure about, because now I just kind of do like kind of a time lapse, like I do the best bits and I kind of put it in a little captions for the best bits, because you just hear me overlapping. That's also a good point, is that for my beginning of live streaming, I was doing coding stuff, because like, you know, I'm the Red Edge developer, I need to make stuff live, and yeah, I can't talk during that, and I was trying to talk during this, and I still couldn't, so I don't know why I thought it'd be entertaining to do that, and that was kind of the point. But yeah, this time-lapse segment still takes a while. But I did link the kind of the, here it is, Learning Godot bonus content. I did link the full part of this. It's still edited down to only have the best bits, so it's not like necessarily long. It's kind of like its own separate video. And I guess that was kind of the thing. It's like, if I think about something to put into it, I need to think about if it'll flow and if the time is good. Because another thing about filling the time is it's like, oh, I want to put like as much content as possible into this. However, you also want it to be as short as possible, and even just like making it short is good content, because then I guess you're not, I mean, I felt a lot like this kind of wasting people's time if they kind of watch the full thing here, so, you know, just kind of cut it down, including the best bits. And yeah, so we're getting complex here, adding jumping as soon as I got that sideways. You could see a sneak peek of the thing I'd been working on, which is where is it related to this? Where I was making a little game for my theater friends, and I had this open while I was working on it back in January.
Doesn't work. Collide with bodies and
I just kind of opened that up.
program.
Silly me trying to program. Why would anyone do that?
That's for silly people. Now it's just gonna. I'll put it to that. I'll do this.
Yep.
And as you can see,
That's pretty fun.
it's just 5%.
And then look at
I
that
thought it was
little
done.
visual to make it appealing.
And as you can see, we have a little player here, and it's all working, all thanks to you.
22
and,
minutes, pretty good.
Me figuring out on the fly time.
Oh, I didn't say time.
Man, I didn't say time for like 10 minutes there. So
I know like
let's
everything I
just
say
subtract
because
those 10
I've
minutes.
watched it thousands of times
Just
while
those 10
editing.
seconds because it wasn't actually 10 minutes. But yeah, this is Godot. It's very interesting. Or maybe for future projects, I'll start kind of learning Godot, specifically probably for 2D, and then
Yep, probably will.
Unreal Engine for 3D. I'm slowly getting through it. I'm getting better. But yeah, so first of all, like I said, we learned Godot. And then we started, version controlling and stuff like that, which, let me just quickly complain about the version controlling. I mean, like...
I did this because it's like, I don't know, it was another segment that I felt was rambling, like the other part, and I talked about it for quite a bit, and I did cut the segment that I talked about what kind of UID kind of means in game development, but I still wanted to include it because I don't know, I just felt it was kind of important in the whole flow of it. But you can see this because it, kind of like, oh man, he's rambling again, huh? But that's kind of bringing up the thing of like, oh, TV segments, like, okay, well, let's head over to the complaining segment. Let me complain about something. Then it would be like a cool visual, and then it would definitely feel like a separate segment. And I think that's kind of what I wanted to do here, is just kind of like make it seem like a different segment that we're kind of moving to kind of do that. And I think the only reason I didn't kind of do like visual and like, oh, moving on to this, is I think it'd be better if I actually said it. I guess I could have done a voiceover and say, oh, now heading over to this segment, but that would be the only voiceover. And just things to think about later. I like doing TV segment type stuff. I don't know, it's just kind of cool to do that and unique. And isn't that the most important thing about YouTube? No, because a lot of times, people prefer the consistency, or I mean, yeah, I guess that's kind of my problem, is the consistency. But what was I gonna say? Oh, the trendy stuff. But you know what? I'm unique, and that's good for me, but not good for actually getting an audience. But that's fine.
There's this really weird problem with the version controlling, specifically with Godot, in that these UUIDs here
And I
constantly
pretty much
kind of
talk
conflict.
about the full thing. I'm
Two.
gonna skip it because
All right, so day
I've already
2,
seen
what
it
did we do?
10,000 times.
Kind of rhymed. It wasn't on purpose. Essentially, we all kind of just broke
I think
off
that
and
was on
kind of
purpose.
did our own
A lot,
things.
a lot of things where I'm like, now on to the next segment. I don't know how YouTube works. I don't know. I've just, I just kind of like doing that kind of personality of like, yep, I don't know what I'm doing, because in all actuality, I kind of don't know what I'm doing. But you know what? It's I think it just flows with it. I keep on saying that. I keep on bouncing between 0 and 1 concurrent viewer. I don't know if it. Actually, I haven't touched it at all. If it's like, if someone clicks out of the tab but they're still listening to it, that it would count it. But anyways, that's a separate thing. My brain can't concentrate on two things at the same time. I forgot what I was just talking about. What was I saying?
2. All right, so day 2, what did we do?
Oh, right. I don't know. I just kind of think it's like natural, because the thing is, like, whenever I think of saying it, it wasn't on purpose, but then whenever I actually say it, I've already thought about thinking about saying it, kind of things. As I don't know, it just kind of flows. I know I explained it. It's just kind of
on purpose.
little tidbit.
Essentially, we all kind of just broke off and kind of did our own things.
And it kind of breaks it up with kind of a joke as well.
To kind
I
of,
think that's a thing that actually my friend Pixel Universe actually mentions as well, and I kind of
you can a couple things going back to going back, I think like a couple years or whatever, or 3 years, to whenever I did, or whenever Pixel Universe made this video right here. It was a very different style of editing. Well, I guess making a video entirely, that I wasn't necessarily. I don't know. I watched it. I was like, it's you don't get that much information. It's a lot more entertainment. But I think that's a good thing, and I've been kind of learning from this video, especially since I got 24,000 views because it's Minecraft. Because it's Minecraft, not because it's a good video. It's because it's Minecraft. That's what I keep on telling myself. Which is partly true because the Minecraft would get more views than just something titled Conquer the Tree. Who would be searching up Conquer the Tree? But searching up Minecraft would be a pretty popular one. And I also talked a little bit about it in this one because I was kind of thinking like, you know what, maybe I do want to have my personality more into these videos. So I talked a little bit about it in that video. And something that I think would probably be better, I guess prevising, I think, hopefully, and maybe doing kind of a rough script or something. I don't know. I always talk about it, but then never necessarily do it. Why is new Twitter trending? Hold on, let me just open that up for later as well, I guess. And yeah, so you know what? I'm thinking through it. I'm getting a thing, but I also every time I want to do something new. It's and every time I make like a new type of video, it's like I don't know how to create this new type of video format. And so I always make mistakes that every video it's like, ah man, it could have been better because of this, because of that. But it's like, oh, it's because it's new. But next time I have the notes and I don't ever make that type of video again. But hopefully I kind of would get a general format of videos, and I'm getting more comfortable with making kind of videos. Anyways, I guess I should have expected this stream to just be more of me complaining about this video. But hopefully it's a nice insight into kind of the thought processes that I had making this video, because there's a lot of thought processes that were happening throughout the editing process and that I wasn't able to necessarily fit into the actual video. And yeah, I guess I just kind of wanted to share that. Just so let's continue.
Maximize the amount of projects that we got done. So what was I doing? I was working on this little player character.
Or maybe doing I guess with the personality. I mean, kind of Pixel Universe does this where he kind of switches into like a very energetic personality. And that's something I realized as well is like for these types of like videos and making videos, I should definitely be more, I guess, energetic and more positive about stuff, and kind of actually going back to the intro, whenever I'm like, oh, I'm so busy all the time, it kind of felt like a negative. I'm like, well, I want to put a positive spin type of thing on this, and you know, this and that, all these things going through my mind, and hopefully I'll learn for the next time. Isn't that what learning's all about? Improving.
Another programmer is working on these traps here. You can see trap freeze, trap stick. Another programmer was working on
this music is actually in the game.
And then the artists were working on the stages. We actually got this test stage, which, you know, it's not the final thing, but we worked on.
I'm also so glad they brought a test stage. I didn't mention it, and I was thinking during editing, like, oh, I should have mentioned that more. Doing a test stage is just wonderful because, like, oh, you know, the artists want to perfect something, but it's like, could you please just give me a prototype for like this or that so I know like what I'm programming. So that was nice.
Colliders, making sure you could do 2 players, stuff like that. Very exciting. And then, of course, the music people were working on the music. Here's a little sample of the music. Yep, that's that. I don't have the music.
My roommate was the one that, or one of my roommates was the one that did the music for it. And I said that, and I was like, oh, it's actually my roommate, actually. But then my actually sounded like Ashley, so I was like, well, I don't want people to think that my roommate's name is Ashley, so I just cut it.
So I hope that was interesting and was long enough to hear something. But let's take a little look at what I worked on here.
So you can see I am a little rat here, and you pick up a
I
trap.
I
and
love
you
doing this
press
type of
space to
editing.
throw it, and you can see I got stuck in the trap. And an interesting thing that I worked on.
It's actually pretty easy to
for the
do.
whole entire day, which I probably shouldn't have.
You
But you
do, I think you do a planar tracker, and then you just like put it on a point, and then make sure it's visually distinct. Because as you can see, doing this
trap,
one,
and then you
it's like
press
locked
space to
onto
throw
it, and then
you
it
see I got stuck
loses its lock,
in the trap,
and then it kind
you-
of freaks out a bit. I just kept it because it doesn't really affect it that much. Oh god, that's terrifying.
interesting thing that I worked on
Um,
for the whole entire day.
but yeah, it's
which I probably shouldn't have.
you do a
but
planar track and then move the background or whatever, and then
you can
it
see
matches it.
the rat wraps around. Yay! This is actually kind of hard work and spent a lot of my time. But essentially,
You can also see that the stick trap or the snap trap just keeps you in place, and then it was later changed to be bouncing around. That's because, you know, like I said, there's one programmer working on the traps, and then I eventually started working on the traps the next day.
how it works. Let me
Just
see if I
because
remember.
I don't know,
here. You
I
can
had
see
some
that-
ideas for the traps. That's like, oh, what if it springs you? What if, you know, particles and things like that? And I wanted to add a little bit more visual flair and a couple more traps.
There's actually two colliders. One's the collision collider,
Did that
and then the
the
other one's the trigger
last 24
collider.
hours.
Essentially, as soon as this collider collides with another
What's funny during that part is I looked at the code. I'm like, yeah, I don't know what any of this is.
object here, it then links the object or the player to that object, so it runs up along it and disables gravity. So let's
Spent the
actually
whole
go on.
First 24 hours working on that, and it worked out pretty well. But like I
this,
said, may have spent too
testing
much
here.
time on it.
Originally, it was planned to.
I also posed the question, and I cut out this question of if you're upside down, because if you're holding right on the keypad, you'd expect your rat to kind of just loop around, right? But then if you stop and you're upside down and you hit right, that means you would start going left, which is a little bit confusing. So I ended up, well, like I kept it like that for the game jam, but then afterwards I kind of switched it to where like, oh, if you're holding right, then I'll keep on going, but then as soon as you stop and then hit right again, then you'll go this way and go back. But then I kind of ran into the problem of like, oh, you're holding right, and then it's like, oh, I don't know, your brain is like, I want to continue moving forward, so you hit right again, but then you start moving backwards. It's a really weird thing to think about, and I just don't know how to necessarily, like, how would you like program or design something like that, like a wraparound type of movement system. I'm sure there's games that have done that before, but I don't think I've played any of them. If anyone knows of one, you can leave a comment on the live stream or the post live stream or currently, to kind of think about that. And like I did actually allow controller support as well, so it's like, okay, well maybe with the controller or with the things like, oh, it'd be right and then down and then left, and you kind of have to switch like as you're going around. But because it's such like a tight radius, you'd have to switch so precisely, or else you just start like, you just don't move, or you start going backwards. And it requires way too much skill to just be able to move around upside down. I think I personally prefer just holding right, and then if you're upside down, the controller essentially flipped to where it's like, oh, if you hit right, you continue going left upside down and things like that. And I just think that would make more sense, but I'm curious to see what other people think, because that's an interesting kind of controllability. Why not making a setting for this? That is true, actually. I guess it could have been a setting. Of course, it's a game jam, wouldn't be able to do it within the time. Well, maybe, because it would just be a toggle in the pause menu. But yeah, maybe making a toggle. But I was wondering if there's like a kind of an in between or something to where you'd be able to do that. I know. I occasionally I think like it'd be nice to make a video where I just kind of break down something like, oh, like, well, let's try and do this or let's try and do that. I think there was a video that I watched before of like how I made like a portal system, and it's like, oh, you know what, that's kind of cool, but you know, like, what else would you do with that? Like, oh, I don't know, worked on water physics and things like that, but then there's like a whole bunch of papers and things like that. I don't know. I think it'd be interesting to do like a deep dive into like a topic like player controllability or things like that, and kind of discussing that.
But anyways, it was a question that I posed in the video that I really wanted to pose, but then I don't know, whenever I record the video, it was kind of all over the place, so I just ended up cutting it. So I'm glad I asked it now because that was
Go up, as you can
this is
see.
a very important thing
Like
that
it
I
was
wanted
just
to
a race to the top.
think about.
But since we have just this aspect ratio, it didn't really make sense to go up.
Yeah, the original idea was just keep on going up, but then both for the art and the gameplay and the music, it kind of didn't work for any of that because for the art, you know, you just like see it for like 10 seconds, then that'd be it. For the gameplay, like programmers, like I just said, it's really easy to just go up and just make it to the top, and then also for the music, it would also just cut off the music. And the music people are like, we made this like 3 minute long track, and then it's just you get up there in 10 seconds. In my mind, I think in everyone's kind of original idea was it would be like a, I guess if the aspect ratio was more vertical, or maybe if we made the scale of things smaller, but then the artist would have to do a lot more like tiny minute details, which I don't blame them for. I think it's much better the way that we did it, but having it maybe be a lot smaller and like, oh, you're like throwing traps and like, oh no, you fell down and things like that. But then I guess if you fall down, then the person on top would just be able to make it up. I guess to counter that, you could have environmental things that stop you, like, oh, there's a thing that pushes you off and things like that. And I think with those games in general as well, is that you would want probably a lot more levels, because you'd be able to go through a lot quicker with them than just this. The only problem with these types of, or with what we have here, is that sometimes it's kind of like a stalemate. Like you just kind of like hide in the corner, or like, oh, the water's rising, and then it's just like two rats stuck up here, and then they can't really interact with each other that much.
Since there
But
wasn't that much up to do, and you got up.
I'm glad the direction we took. The only thing with it then meant it's like, okay, well, it's last rat standing, but then there's a last rat standing each round. So how does that make sense in terms of the gameplay flow of it? Which I discuss it more in the video. I just kind of wanted to do an actual kind of just rant about it because I didn't include it in the actual video. Like, I lost my train of thought. Oh man, it's so hard live streaming. What was I saying? It's see, typically if I ask this to people, they're like, "Oh, this is what you're talking about." It's like, "You're right," and then I can go off of it. Now I can't. I don't have anyone to bounce off of. Oh yeah, the thing with the that I talked about later in the video. It felt very much like, okay, you're on the first one, and then you do it, and then you do the second one, and you do it, and then you do the third one, and then the ending is based off of who wins the third one. So it's like, okay, well, if the ending only depends upon the third one, what does the first and second round mean for winning? And so then it's like, oh, well, you know what, we could do a power-up system, and then we weren't able to get a power-up system done in time. We were sort of able to, but, you know, I'll talk about it later.
2 seconds?
But that was kind of, it was just, we didn't think about that until a little bit too late, realizing like, oh, you know what, this thing doesn't make sense now if we do it like this format instead. So yeah,
We didn't just want to skip pretty much the whole game based off of like, oh, can you get up there in like 3 seconds compared to your companion who, this guy's kind of at a disadvantage because he can't easily reach up there.
Jump up to anything.
But yeah, this is kind of the basics that we have. After day 2 and day 3, we were rushing to get everything together, and yeah,
Yep.
let's show that.
It was kind of weird. The end of day 2, like the Saturday, or it's also weird how I phrased it. I'm like day 1, day 2, day 3, and then I realized like in editing, it's like, wait, it was only 48 hours. What am I talking about? It's like, oh well, technically, like I'm counting like the very end bit of Friday and then Saturday, Sunday, but it's like not all of Sunday either. So it's like it's kind of broken up segments. So it's a little bit confusing talking about it, but hopefully hopefully in the editing it made sense, and me talking about it.
All right,
But
this
yeah.
is the day 3 project, I believe.
Oh right, at the end of the Saturday though,
I didn't really feel like I had anything to program, and I was like, oh, maybe I'll stay up for overnight. I was like, I didn't really have that much to program because the other programmer was working on the traps, which I ended up working on the traps, and then oh, the artists were still working on the maps, which the maps would be easy. Well, I thought it would be easy. It'd just be the collision of stuff, which the collision of stuff, like there's a specific case you can see here where it's like a cylinder and a cylinder, but because they're separate or something like that, it just didn't work whenever you hit one, or whenever you're on one then you hit another, because it's considered a part of the same object or something like that. So I had to do a little bit of recoding, which is unfortunate, but let's continue that. All right, this is the day 3 project, I believe. I haven't tested it, but if I hit play, perfect. So let's hit play here, and you can see. Actually, I'm gonna blur it. Bam, it's been blurred. You can't actually see what it is. You'll have to play the game yourself. By the way, these slideshows are great. The pictures and the thing. We also asked for this one. They did slideshow. Unfortunately, it went by, like you can see there's a lot of text and it went by way too fast. Which I kind of want to go back and just like and make it to where it doesn't just automatically go and you hit spacebar. This one automatically goes, but there's no text, so it's fine. But this game is actually pretty good. It was like the first one that we did. Anyways, the artists I always work with are pretty great. I don't think I actually said it, but the nicest people that you can work with are actually the people during game jams. I don't know why. It's just like everyone's just really incredibly friendly during game jams. At least with all the people that I've worked with. Even if we fail, they're also nice. I was working with the team during the summer at one point, and I think it was even worse than the one that I did last year for the Texas Game Jam in terms of how it worked and functioned. And it was just kind of all over the place. But you know what? He wrote the person who was kind of like our team leader or whatever. He wrote like a nice comment about each of us. I was like, oh, like he said like I was optimistic and things like that. Even though I was like giving him realistic stuff, it's like, oh well, realistically, maybe I think we'll be able to do this or that, and we may not be able to get it all and stuff. I guess I like being realistically optimistic, so I guess I was being realistic, but also you saw the optimistic parts and you complimented me on that. But yeah, I don't know, just being in a game jam, you meet a lot of really nice people. Unfortunately, a lot of times you don't actually keep in touch with them, although the people for this game jam we have kept in touch with, which I'm really glad for. It's a really nice team. Everyone's just, like I said, really nice during game jams. Anywho, I think it's just because everyone there really likes making a game. There's no time commitment problems necessarily. And well, I mean, even if there is, you kind of you realize that it's like, oh, you're there for 48 hours. Of course, you're allowed a break, or like if you have some other prior commitment, it's like fine. But then if it like keeps on happening for like regular people, God, those people. But yeah, you all really want to make a game, and everyone wants to work well with each other, and not like, oh, I hate your idea or whatever. Instead, everyone's like, yeah, yes, and I think is just kind of the motto. Because the problem with doing a game outside of, I keep on having to click on the music whenever I stop the video. Problem with doing a game outside of a game jam is a lot of people just lose motivation or don't have time to do it, which is very unfortunate because I've really wanted to just kind of make a game with people, a whole group. But it's just everyone has their own time commitment. I've had a couple people I've asked to help me with my games, and there's been a few times that I was just looking at something real quick. There's been a lot of times. Let me actually take a drink. Been a lot of times other people have invited me to work on their projects, but every time, and the motivation and the time commitment, it's just not really there necessarily. And yeah, I don't remember what else I was gonna say with that. Oh, but hopefully I do want to do something like that. I just realized that I'd probably want to hire them and be like, hey, here's your motivation, or more like, hey, this is a job, And like, hey, it's not like a hobby. You can do this full time, and you can do it full time with me, and it'll all be great. You know, that's what I'm always looking for. Anyways, let's continue.
Link in the description to actually see the lore, which I'm so glad.
Oh, also I should say, whoever liked my video before, liked this live stream before it even was live, thank you. I always like thanking people who
Of
like
what
live
the lore
stream.
is, because I had input in
The lore is so funny.
it, and it's really funny.
Oh, I'm so
and
glad.
It crashed apparently. So
Oh, the thumbnail, by the way, is a combination of all our lores that we had. So you can see the lore that I had was the flags, the pepperoni and cheese, and then I just realized the show that I'm doing this semester has a reference to pepperoni and cheese. That's funny. You can see that there's a flood, and I think there's a few other things. I think there's like God and things like that. What if the rat fights God was a thing in our other thing that we had?
All right, and here it is. It's actually
That was a weird
very
transition,
loud in my ears,
but
so
you
I'm
know,
gonna turn it down. Don't mind the ad.
can't do
breaks
anything
there.
about it.
But yeah, you can see that we have a trap spawn.
Bing,
We have a
ba-da-ba-dum.
new movement system that I worked on a little bit, which is a
Yeah, the artists were also like, oh, this is, by the way, a top-down type movement. Like, oh, you can crawl in the vines. I'm like, what? I didn't program that. I literally spent, I was like, ah, man, I spent like all the time yesterday working on the other movement, and now I have to spend all the next time doing this type of movement. But luckily I was able to kind of do it in time. It
top-down
worked
one.
pretty good.
You can see here also.
It makes it a bit confusing that there's two types of movement systems again. Because it's like, oh, you're moving left, right, front, center, whatever, and then on the actual pipes, you're then just left, right,
So,
and
You
it's
can see down
confusing.
here,
But you know
if you
what?
get into the
It's
water,
fine.
you can also start drowning there. And
You
then
get
as soon
forced
as
down, you get a
drowns,
different thing,
I'm
and
gonna
then
need to
water looks pretty
be up
good.
here without using
And then
my,
I
W
throw
key
the
because
trap, and then I
doesn't
get
work.
into the trap. That trap is basically a slip trap. You slip through, or you phase through all of the physical objects for like maybe a second. And
And
then
I
you
went into a slip trap.
slip trap.
But yeah, a lot of stuff was actually finalized in this last day here. But here's the second stage, here,
And see this one, you can't really tell that you
And you can
can
see here
kind
is
of
the
crawl on these.
top-down
And
view,
another thing that I
for
didn't think
pipes.
about whenever you're in
we also
this
have
kind of
the
mode
stick trap.
is that like whenever you're up here and you throw it, it's like, okay, you throw it like in front of you. Which would be like to the right of the player, so velocity right. But then if you throw it and you're in this state, then that means you just throw it to the right of you, or to the left, I guess, because you're facing left. So you just end up throwing it there,
So I'll just
which leads to a lot of times doing
the-
that
the-
while
the-
you're on the
the
pipes, because it's
snap
hard to think
trap,
about the
I don't know why it's
orientation of
called
it.
that,
And it probably should have been
works.
done
So if I
different,
go
so
up
you can
here,
see that
you can
looks
see,
like that.
boom, and I get
Boom.
flow. This game.
I like what I did with the traps getting into the water. They just kind of slow down and things like that.
There's a lot of precision.
Physics. I
let's
like
just
doing
say.
physics stuff as well. Physics
well,
stuff was very important for this game, and you know what? Yeah, every time I mention this, hold on, every time I mention this video, I keep on thinking about this one part of the game that I
One
just,
of the drawings was a
oh yeah, see? This guy, it's like the best physics ever. I don't know, I just I like how it works. It's just like a whole bunch of joints, and then it's just like whenever it hits the ground, it just goes up and right, up and to the right. So it just kind of bounces along, and this is kind of like a bullet hell type thing. You can see just, and the sounds, it's like, oh, we have sound storms. Like, oh, what? That's perfect. And so essentially he has a sound attached to him, and basically fades in as he comes this way, and then fades out as he goes that way. It's like wow, 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 wow. You can't hit him, and it works so good. Man, I love a lot of the little stuff that we put in this one. Anyways, we're not talking about that game jam. We're talking about this one.
You can see the one where you get stuck. You can see a better rain physics. That one,
Yep.
you just slip through everything. Very
Yep.
exciting. And
Yep. And you
that
can
one's
see
gonna die.
here what I'm talking about. Like, you have one player here, you have one player here, you have the water, and it's like, can't really throw things to the other person, because if you throw it from here, they just go here. So you're just kind of
Dying,
stuck there
man,
until
and
one
the other one's
person
gonna
decides to
win,
go
and You're gonna see that power buff happens.
and dies.
So yeah, it lasts for 3 rounds. You get a buff each time. Until the third round. Third round is the last one standing. just like these little tests here to make sure that I'm actually able to
I was printing a lot of
save
tests because the thing is, each one of these is its own separate scene, and so then in order to actually yeah, it's its own separate scene. So like I would have to store data across scenes. So it's like, okay, well I have to figure out how to do that, and then I have to figure out like, okay, which rats are still alive, because the like that system was in the leveling system, like, oh, like who died, who didn't, and it's saved in a kind of a main script. I'd never touched that main script. That's the other programmer. So it's like, okay, well, which one of these variables like contains info about like which players are still alive? And eventually afterwards I was able to find, it's like, okay, so this is the list of alive players. And then for like a different thing, I just got a phantom noise. I don't know what that was. And then whenever it loads into the new one, I had to like make sure that it's loaded in and not call it too soon. It's like, okay, it's loaded in. All the new players have loaded in, and then I have to go through and give them the buffs. But then the thing is, like, a player could be buffed twice because they won the first and second round, and so it's like, okay, well, there has to be a list, and I have to make sure it's all the right thing, so you can see. You know, I'm just printing a whole bunch of stuff of like,
so
okay,
left
well,
one
when do these
3D
events
grids.
fire and what's
So let's
stored?
both start here.
But yeah, eventually
and
I
then
figure it
both
out,
go,
get
and
that
you
all
can
worked
see,
out.
ooh, wow, that one's a lot faster, but has also just died.
And
yep.
unfortunately, that happens a lot as well. We were talking about, I know I talked about before, it's like, oh, we tried to not make the levels too short of like, oh, you just go up and then it's done. A lot of times they ended short because someone just fell into the water, and then the water's very, drags you down very much, and so then a lot of times games ended very quickly that way. But replayability, and you know, you just go back to it, and hopefully
Sometimes
you
the
survive
sounds are
long and
very
you hear
quick.
more of the songs
very
that they
funny.
made.
Oh, I'll let the outro play. Oh, just kidding. You won't be able to see it
Outro's
until
also
you
pretty good.
actually play it. But there was a
It's
bit of a
amazing. Unfortunately, we were making a game later, and they're like, please don't have us do a slideshow again. That was, it was way too much drawing. I'm like, oh, I didn't realize that was too much for you. We could have done something else. It's just mainly because we had done it before for, you know, another artist.
In that we
It's pretty easy to
we may
program.
have not submitted in time, which was sort of my fault.
Yeah,
Because the
didn't
thing
submit in
is,
time.
On
I-
which
I have to apologize to my teammates. I think I said apologize for my teammates. Apologize to my teammates. It is my fault that we submitted late. I thought an itch that you could submit it if you're in the highest level, but you can't. You can only submit it if you were the creator of that page in itch, itch.io. Because it's like, oh, I'm gonna be working on this, and maybe I'll get it in time. I think it's like a minute late. But it's like, oh, you know what? This other programmer, I'll just tell him to like submit what we have currently, and it'll be fine. And he tried to, and he was like, no, you have to do it. I was like, what do you mean I have to do it? Just submit it. I'm just getting this. Like, you can still submit it because I'm working on this other thing. And then he told me afterwards, like, no, I couldn't do it at all. I was like, oh, I see the issue. And then they didn't tell us until like 20 minutes afterwards, like, oh yeah, you're given an extra hour. I was like, oh my gosh. I was just living with that guilt for like 20 minutes of like, I didn't submit in time. But we did eventually submit in time, which I'll mention.
by the way, I didn't know this, but
And I explained the same thing.
Battle,
This is just, yeah, always have fun, because I was gonna skip this part because I already mentioned it. I realized whenever I was talking, in that I was like, we have to get that power up system. I literally like told him, it's like, look, we have to have this power up system, or else the first 2 rounds don't matter. But at the end of the game, it's just a little fun game where you're just fighting another rat, and you know, it's like, oh, okay, the first 2 rounds could be considered like practice rounds until you get to the 3rd round. Even that would have made sense.
I was very determined to get that power up system done, but luckily, after we had dinner, they said another hour was open.
Yep.
And then I tried to work on the power up system again, and I thought I had it working that
Some little
time.
gameplay footage.
but it
This
still
is just
wasn't.
me, by the way,
I got
having
it
to
worked
control
on
both.
after the jam was finished, but But yeah, we were actually able to submit, and we showed it off to a few people. It's a lot of fun playing with another person this game.
So, yeah, you can see one rat is moving while the other one is.
We enjoyed our company so much that we actually worked on another game jam, which was.
And then I really wanted to mention the other games that we did, because you know what? Even though the Jumble Jam was sort of a mess, and like the first game that we worked on, let me just show it.
Switch it between other people. For
let me actually
3
explain
days,
it.
I believe. So essentially, we worked
Why
on
am
a
I
game
talking
for
whenever
24
he
hours.
can?
It's this. I'll show some screenshots. It's this
First 24 hours, we made this pretty
library,
cool attacking game where, and you can kind of hear the music.
Fighting game. It's really
Boom, boom,
fun
boom, bum,
because
bum, bum. Essentially, what happened is for the first 3 notes, it was specific like things that the other penguin would do. Like you can see block, stab, swing, roll left, roll right. It'd be kind of priming like, oh, it's drum, snare drum, or like tom, snare drum, cymbal, or something like that. Like it'd be 3 distinctive notes, and those 3 distinctive notes played again. It's like bum 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 bum, but louder, and it determined like what the other penguin would do. So it's like, oh, the other penguin's gonna roll. Okay, we're gonna dodge and things like that. It was kind of like a rhythm based fighting game, which was quite interesting to work on, and I'm glad we did for the first 24 hours.
Skills again. The second game that we worked on was a.
The other games though were mainly just me that worked on it, even though we had our whole team, which I'm not gonna blame them at all. It was 3D games; they weren't comfortable with 3D, and it was just hugely, so much demotivating. Whenever we opened up the project and it was nothing, all that was in the project was just like a 3D player controller, and then these like little models that like they just grabbed off of like something, and he's like, yeah, just I kind of just threw this together. I'm like, I have to make like another game in 24, like a whole new game in 24 hours. Like we had made a fully functioning game with this, and it's like, oh, like they may like do other battles or like other rounds, which they ended up doing like more rounds and stuff like that, which is quite cool. But then for this one, it was just like, yeah, you have to think of your own game idea again. It's like, oh man, it's like the whole other team wasn't able to really work on it. It was just me. So it's like, you know what? Let's have a penguin finder, and that's what we'll do. Like, it was even the thing of like because we're not supposed to like communicate with each other, but they like put in like little notepads like, yeah, wasn't able to work on much, but I just kind of have this thing. You can kind of go wherever with it. There's this problem where you pick it up and it kind of like messes with your like player controller a bit. And I was like, oh, click, and I fixed it. It's a really simple fix, and it's a common issue that happens for player controllers. But yeah, ended up actually being quite cool. And I mentioned something else, the parkour.
Screenshots, basically.
This one, we had a few of them. I think we had like a maze and things like that. Well, actually, this was the maze, but this one was actually a dark maze, a pitch black dark maze. And as you can see here, we actually use the system where you click and then it scans, and you can have points of like where it is. And I worked on that. It was actually pretty simple to implement. I'm actually surprised at how simple, because it's literally just raycasting, and like I literally just have a variable field of like width and height, and then it just spawns these orbs. It was really easy to implement, and it actually looked pretty cool using it. So maybe I'll put it into a different game or something like that. But if you don't know what I'm talking about, I don't know if I'll be able to find it. I probably won't. But you know what game I'm talking about, where it's pitch black and you scan and things like that. There's been many clones of it now. But yeah, it's something that does bother me that I wasn't able to fix is that they don't have a closing parentheses for this font.
A lot. And then the third one that we did was a just save the penguin 3D.
And this one, like, it was just like random penguins. I think the penguins were just spinning and moving around. And then that was it. That was all that we were. Oh, and of course this we had this terrain as well, but that was it. It's like, okay, well, where's the game? It's like, well, there is no game. It's like, what? We have to make another full game in 24 hours. So it's like for the first 12 hours, I was just kind of like, I'm not doing this. I'm gonna do something else. But eventually, I came back to it, and I was actually able to create 3 different game ideas. Although I'll admit, I probably didn't fully think of the first game idea by myself, because we had
I had the whole team at that point to help me. But for this one, I was like, oh, I'll do the snowstorm is coming, and you have to. I was gonna put like a little fish that you had in your hand, and the other programmer did actually help a little bit with this one and adding snow particle system, which I then forgot and didn't end up implementing because like I said, only worked for the last 12 hours, the last 12 hours. Um, and I was running low on time and I forgot to implement it until it was after. I was actually in the middle of testing as well, so the snowstorm was coming. It was like 0 seconds left because I was testing the ending conditions, and so I uploaded it like that. I was like, oh no, but luckily they like came in and like fixed up all the games, so they had like a 6 minute 50 or probably 7 minute timer. But I want to also add like an image of a fish that they're holding as to why the penguins that were close to you were following you. You just basically have to get all these penguins into a hole within the time, or else you don't save them, whatever. And
Thing where
I'll have to admit, the 3 games that we worked on were pretty fun and were very like complex and interesting in terms of. Sorry, I'm just looking at something. Complex and interesting in terms of the game mechanics, and I'm quite proud of myself, even though it really took a mental toll trying to do all that.
snowstorm's coming, there's slippery physics, and you have to guide the penguins back into
There's only one image we had for this, so I was just like, instead of flipping through, I'm just gonna zoom in,
to be safe.
and I
from
made
the
this
snowstorm.
quite pleasing image.
That was kind of fun. I also did another game jam in the summer of last year. Just some more screenshots.
Going back in time, this is just me and the other programmer. Disastertopia, one button. You can also play this. I think the link to all these are in the video description for this. Actually, it's right here. Yeah, Rat Type Skirmish, Jumble Jam Games, and then Disastertopia. See, I only had. I mean, I could have downloaded and opened up the project, but I decided not to. So you can see. Look, it's that one.
Basically,
And
Disastertopia.
I kept the same
just
music
did this one with the other programmers
because
that I've been
we're
working
not
with for every
music
game jam.
people, the two programmers.
And,
But I
it was a
look, I
lot of
did
fun.
the images for this, and actually, let me open up. I forget I have this stuff open. Let me open up something real quick that I recorded that I sort of forgot, but then realized it's like, it doesn't really fit into it. But I actually recorded something during that jam, during this one. I don't know where I'd find it though. Where do I keep that footage? Is this the footage? No, I don't think so. I swear I have footage. Or maybe lying completely. Could just be that I'm lying. And that nothing ever happened. I guess would it be in here? I guess would it be this one? Here we go. Look, I record a little time lapse thing. This is how I create art. A lot of art is just I guess I could talk a little bit about that. Something that I've learned making art because I've had to, because other programmers or other people are a little bit reluctant to help with projects, as I've had to learn how to make art myself. So as you can see, I've developed my own skills, and yeah, the thing that I was going to mention is that I have a very much analytical mind whenever it comes to these things. So so if I were to do this, I'd be like, okay, so I need to make sure that the curve is just right. So I'll do 1, 1, 1, and then maybe I'll start doing 2s, and then like this. It's like, okay, well on this side, like everything's very much like some type of rhythm to it in terms of how it is. But then I realized it's like, oh, doing this stuff, you just kind of go for it, and you just kind of I think I probably just clicked and dragged, and then it's like, oh, that doesn't look right. Okay, I'll just go back and fix it. Like you can probably see, like, oh, the shape of it, I changed multiple times. So you can see it's like this shape, no, that shape, I'll shape it this way and shape it that way, and I just kept on. You can see it's just repetition mainly, and it really helps if you're on a time limit as well.
You can see I shaved it off to get kind of a different format. Like I have it visualized in my head, so I just kind of do that. And I'm like, oh, shading. Look at my shading. Perfect. Ah, yes, look at that. Shading. And then I wanted to have a little outline to it. Perfect. And yeah, that's just a little quick tip yep, of this.
It was just basically the theme was just
sorry,
one
my voice
button,
is dying.
so
It's been an
one
hour and a
button
half,
was
and I
the
said it would only be
clicking
an hour.
mouse, and you had to like scroll through and click which thing to stop and things like that. It's pretty funny, and I actually did the art for that. But yeah, that's this video, just kind of going over a lot of the games that I worked on for the past year while I haven't been making YouTube videos, but that will be changing very, very soon. As
That's gonna be
I'll talk
changing
about
soon?
in the next clip.
Thing is, sorry, just for this clip right here, I planned it whenever it's cold in January, and then I actually recorded it like a week later and it's already warm. So it didn't make sense, but
yeah,
for me.
that was the game. So what happened to Rat Tide Skirmish? Well, we didn't necessarily win best overall. We didn't actually win any art or.
Because I wanted to do different kind of scenes instead of just seeing the same thing the whole time. Although I guess for this whole thing, it's just kind of me sitting there, but you know, flips through different things that I've done.
Boards, which I mean, I thought we were, since the four of them actually did.
Instead of
really
just
good
me
job
being
on
in front of
that
the board.
But we did actually end up getting second place for best technology, which I mean,
Yeah.
I guess is the programming award. So I guess I can consider
Got
that
the
a win,
programming
which is
award
pretty cool.
somehow.
But now, what does that mean for the future of the Red Edge developer? Well, it's kind of cold, so I think I'm gonna move. All right.
Well, I just want to test something real quick. I don't know. I keep on seeing people pop in and out for the video, so I'm just making sure that.
But now, what does that mean for the future?
It's gonna be conception here in a second. Wow, look at this.
Well, it's kind of cold, so I think.
Yeah, I see that new Twitter still here. Yeah, little sneak peek hint for the nobody people that are here. What if I made my own social media platform that combines like all the best aspects of YouTube, Twitter, Reddit, all that stuff, and created some competition? Yeah, what do you think about that? Anyways, you didn't hear it from me though.
So what is indeed the plan for the future of the Red Edge
Red Edge
Developer
Developer.
YouTube channel? Well, there's a couple things in the works. Number one, this video. Number two, I actually have a few engineering projects that I have lined up, so that should be
Those should
really
be pretty
exciting.
exciting.
I'm really stoked to be doing.
They've been delayed. I've had these the three engineering video ideas for a while. I haven't been able to execute on them yet because I've had these types of videos planned before. Well, see, the thing is, I was like, okay, I'll do a short little video about this because I really wanted to make a video about the game jam, regardless of how bad it is. Which I'm just complaining about in this video, or this live stream, whatever. Am I live? No, of course not. No one can see me. What was I gonna say? Oh, I'm losing it. Yes, that is exactly what I was gonna say, which was nothing. Where did I even say here? Oh, this video. Yeah, I plan to do the three engineering videos this semester, while I'm still in school. But I think I'm only gonna be able to do one. So it is, you know, like I said, a little bit delayed. But you know what? I'll have the other two done next semester, hopefully the following one. And at least I'll have it all planned out, and it should be pretty cool indeed.
Edge Developer YouTube channel. Well, there's a couple things in the works. Number one, this video. Number two, I actually have a few.
This is also just React content. I realized. Like I'm looking at it. I'm like, it's just React content. This is, I don't know. Will I do these videos in the future? I felt like it because you know I have a lot to say about these videos, but a lot of what I'm saying, I mean, I don't really need to or really necessarily want to say. Like, oh yeah, let's look at how many subscribers I've gained. None. Which, you know, I expected that because it's not like an entertaining video, but it's mainly for the people who watch the videos and stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I just because whenever I was like, oh, I'm gonna move away from doing
like live streaming, I'm always mentioning things right before I actually say it in the video. But whenever I moved away from the like every other week live streaming to just kind of stay up to date, so like, you know, every other week. I hope I didn't say every other day. Every other week live streaming. Um I was like, well, I still want to live stream every now and then. But do I really for like just kind of these types of streams where I'm just I don't know, like because like I could put all this like if you haven't seen my Twitter or Discord, links should be in the description of this video. Let me check real quick. Yeah, you can check there for updates. So I don't that's kind of the point of the Twitter and Discord. So I stopped doing these kind of update videos. Um, and also there's been constantly like I always get like one viewer and then zero, one, zero, and there's been about like 19 people have done that. um, so but you know, I guess I'm trying it out doing this. I kind of did it for the first this video where I talked about the plans and things like that. But you know, it's you can figure that out through posts and stuff like that and Twitter and Discord or whatever. And I don't need to be here sitting here talking about it. I could be doing instead what I'm gonna be doing. I guess I can say projects that I have lined up, so that should be really excited. I'm really stoked to be doing that. Yep. And then I also have a few other video ideas. Yep. And there's gonna be a few other video ideas include. I am gonna do a deep dive into a TV show that I recently watched. And what are the video ideas? Oh, I've been working on some projects for school that I think I'll be actually sharing. Well, not all of them are for school. I think only one's for school, but the other two are sort of related to this semester, and I think it'd be really nice to share. And yeah, that's all I'll say. YouTube channel, and particularly what we'll be doing is some combined YouTube channel. And another thing that I mentioned, we'll be doing some Minecraft. Yeah, that's right. I always say it in because that was the thing about this video as well. Is like, oh, I want to announce everything that I said in the live streams into an actual video, but then I'm like, I feel like it just ruined the video, and my gosh, see how much like in my mind I am about all this stuff. I need to really like plan it all out beforehand. Just think it's like, man, I'm sick today. Maybe I should just cancel. But it's like I said in the video, and it was planned. Like the thing is, this was planned in January to have this very live stream, but now it's like mid-March, actually towards the end of March, and it's like, well, I kind of have to go with my promise. I mean, I guess I could not, but I like being consistent after I say I'm gonna do something. So yeah. During live streaming, is that I mean, you kind of notice I'm no longer doing the scheduled live streaming. Talking about the same thing. I'll be only doing live streaming occasionally for certain events. Like for example, there should be one very soon. Okay, certain events would be cool to have. But I think it'd be like big events with like other people and stuff like that. And not just like kind of a behind the scenes update video. I don't think that's really an event. I think it's just kind of a boring idea. I'm critiquing so many things about this video. I'm even critiquing this very live stream, which is kind of why I think I shouldn't have done this live stream. Oh my gosh. Yeah. But anyways, thank you everyone for actually watching it, if you have watched it all the way through. And hopefully this has provided you with some look behind the scenes of the Red Edge developer. Turning this into a positive. Because that's what I'm all about. See, that's what I'm all about as well. As I mentioned it before, I like doing content where it's like positive and doing this, doing that. So yeah, I just don't get the point of these live streams. So I'm just like, yeah, I'd want to say like this or that to add on to it, but do I really need to? And yeah, anyways, continuing forth. Attention to the intro compared to now. I'm sure this will be in like a compilation years from now. It's like, this YouTuber used to do this. I always think about that, like, and I always keep all my old stuff, which, you know, the reason why I did season 2 was because I was planning, was like, I really want to like, because if people look back at my old content, they'll see it's like, yeah, I don't know about this guy. Especially like for my live streams, I see like, or it's like new videos where it's like not Minecraft, I see people unsubscribe because a lot of people subscribe for the Minecraft or things like that,
which there'll be something Minecraft soon. Yeah, there'll be something Minecraft soon released, I guess is how you would say that. But yes, and that and all this. Hold on, I need to check something. But yeah, you know, I no, I think it's just because I really like experimenting. I think that's why I always put experimenting, even though I know it's probably going to be bad. I'm like, I don't care because it's an experiment um and all this and all that. And so then yes. So I was checking, I got a notification. There may be a couple posters missing, which I'll explain in the behind the scenes live stream. Yeah, the posters. Like I said, the poster in the beginning was edited in, and that's kind of the whole gimmick for the live stream. Oh my gosh, yep, that's me. Anyways, so stick around for that. Now, speaking of that, I am kind of, you know, a bit halfway, actually a bit past halfway, to getting 1,000 subscribers. And keep in mind, I'm saying all this not to be down on myself or down on the video. I guess I should have said this to begin with. I'm doing this, like, all as critiquing. Like, I never, like, it's not like, oh, this is terrible and I would never do it again. I'm most likely going to do all this again. Even though I say I don't want to and like I'm learning and things like that. This is just me. This is probably going to be how I do content forever. It's just making mistakes because, you know, life is all about experimenting, and that's just what happens. And yeah, I scheduled it in, even though I thought it was a bad idea. I scheduled it in, and even though I'm sick and all that, because it's all about commitment and experimenting and figuring out new things, which is experimenting. Anyways, let's finish this video. Live stream. This was kind of just a motivator for myself and any others watching the channel. About the in that I had kind of the 2-year countdown plan of like, if I don't know what I was thinking. I had this like really big idea of like, oh, the 2-year plan and like I think it was, I don't know, it was probably just more of a personal thing. So I don't know why I kind of announced it, but it was just, well, like I said, it's kind of a motivator for myself and other people watching of like, look, in 2 years, I'm going to have 1,000 subscribers and this is what we're going to do whenever we hit it and like this and that. And then it's like, I wanted to, like I said, in this video, announce the stuff that I announced in the live streams. But then I was like, why is it limited to 2 years? Because then it's already kind of been a year. And then it's like, it feels like I'm just putting pressure on the audience, which it was never meant to be. Is why I kind of phrased it differently. Of like, it's not limited to 2 years. I don't know why I did that. Because that gets the wrong point across. But yeah, I don't know. I was just going back into school and I was like, oh, I'm so excited, and whatever. So yeah. If I get 1,000 subscribers in 2 years, then I'd be doing this celebration kind of live stream where I'd be doing karaoke, reviewing some theater stuff that I've done, like this clip right here. Sounds drummer, boys, but I haven't played drums since the instant. Some metronomes kidnapped me, and when I woke, I completely lost my sense of rhythm. I'm hanging out here ever since. Yeah, it turns out that's a funny clip. Essentially that was you know, Phineas and Ferb. I was Sherman, whatever. And I did the whole song and I did the whole play. It was based off of that episode. You know what episode? And it was pretty fun to do. And oh, by the way, that was an adult run. Basically what that means is that we got to do more adult jokes. So that's why I said I was kidnapped by metronomes instead of being fell asleep in a metronome factory. So it's quite fun doing that stuff. And you can see on my shirt, oh, let's see if you can see it. Yes, you can see What Up Party People, because the children's show that I'm doing this semester is Bluey. And you know what? I've been watching some Bluey, and the soundtrack's actually pretty good. Let me say. I don't know why I said that 3 times. And you can see I also snuck in this thing, start a game dev company, because I think I mentioned it while I was
recording or something like that, but I was like, I don't know, but I was like, I'll just kind of sneak it in and see if anybody notices that, because at 1,000 I'd start earning some money, and I would have some money in the bank or whatever, and I don't know, I just really want to start a game dev company like I mentioned prior. My hire some of my friends to do stuff. Actually helped me get that role. But the only change is that it's, because keep in mind, I'm a game developer first, YouTuber second. But I have learned how to actually like and enjoy YouTube, which is why I'm improving on my video quality, or at least attempting to. See, the thing with games though, and the thing that I like about doing game development and not like about doing YouTube is that for game development, like I can experiment, I can try this, I can try that, I send it out to people, I get feedback, and then I change it, and then, you know, they keep on playing it, and then it's like a year later, I'm like, oh, you know what, I want to improve it, I want to do this or do that. YouTube videos, you have to make it, and then you don't get any feedback necessarily. I mean, I could send it to people and be like, hey, what do you think of this so far, or whatever, but I don't know, I just kind of don't like doing that. I guess because that's kind of how I do games. I don't really show games to people unless I've kind of have a mostly finished product. But the thing is with YouTube videos, it's like, okay, well, once you have a mostly finished product, you release it and then you can't update it or change it. So I like experimenting, but it kind of doesn't necessarily work with YouTube videos. For that problem, and then also for just the algorithm. It's like, you're experimenting, well, what type of content do you do? I'm actually surprised it actually got like 200 views within like the first couple days. The YouTube algorithm really picked up on it, which I'm glad for. It's not gonna be limited, even though I've had all these critiques. It's all about learning. Milestone, and I just wanted to kind of announce it in an actual video instead of just a live stream. Just said the same thing. Lots of stuff. I'll be here, you better be here, and because of that, you should subscribe. Yep. Oh, I don't have that little button down there. Just I don't have the subscribe button. The word subscribe, and maybe if I say the word, hit the like button, then the other one will light up wherever. The like button didn't light up either. I don't know if that one works. Maybe they removed it. I lied. But yeah, lots of exciting stuff. I better get to work, so I will see you then. Is that my intro? I haven't done this. Sounds like I say intro. I don't know if I said intro or not. I should have said outro. I don't know what I'm saying. Yeah, I don't know what I'm saying. See, this guy's kind of crazy. I don't know what's happening here. But yeah, so that was the video, and yeah, so you know, we'll be doing other type stuff. Oh yeah, see, the video ended. I don't know why that's there. But yeah, that was that. It actually just taken me an hour and 45 minutes pretty much to talk about that video. And you know what? I'm learning and improving, and I will see you next time. I'll probably change actually the title of this live stream to experimenting or something along those lines to make it shown in the beginning before you watch it that it's like, hey, it's all about experimentation, baby. And yeah, so I hope you all have a good day. I am going to have some rest, work on some more of the virtual robot simulator. That is also a thing I'd like to mention, is that a lot of my programming time has been taken up by the virtual robot simulator. The only other programming things I've been able to work on is like a little bit for Conquer the Tree for being able to port it, but even then I was like barely able to program anything for it, and it took like so long because they're so reluctant to respond to me. Which I wanted to mention in this video. It's like, you know, complain this or that. Like, it's because it's locked behind the subscription service as well, which I wanted to complain about. It's like, locked behind the subscription, which I don't approve of, but you know what? It's still a good game and things like that. But it's like, I don't want to complain about it in an advertisement for the little game. But yeah, so right now my programming time has been all spent up on this, but hopefully I should be able to finish what I'm working on and then go back to programming some more updates for Conquer the Tree, Space Fighters, and Villain Rewind, and then probably making a triple devlog on those three, and it should be incredibly exciting. A lot of incredible stuff, and I will see you. I remember my outro for this guy. But yeah, it's unfortunate that I announced season 2 where I'm like, oh, I want to like delete my old channel stuff. type of things. But it's like, you know what, instead of deleting it, because I don't know, I just believe in keeping it to kind of look back on, to kind of realize like, well, it's more for me to realize for myself. It's like, I can improve from here and take notes, whatever. But then for an actual YouTube video or YouTube channel, it's like, ooh, what does this guy make? That's why I kind of distinguish it with season 2 as like a brand new start where I actually spend time working on videos. Which apparently has meant me like not actually doing that. So hopefully I do. I've only been live streaming. Oh my gosh. What is the Red Inch developer turned into? But that is all the stuff. And I've been incredibly busy for the past 2 semesters. I should mention that. Which I did mention in the beginning of that video. Anyways, my voice is just dying and I'm just going around in circles because I think I have something else to say, but then I realize I actually don't. So I was just playing a song to end the live stream. So I will see you all never. This is the last you'll ever see of me. Wow, the sunlight's like so bright on me. I'm only seeing that now. Anyways, goodbye.